Howdy everyone, this is Tricia and welcome to my channel. So I've decided to do my videos the way that I used to do them when I first started. So we're going to go ahead and work on my craft table with my beautiful chalk background. Now excuse that it doesn't have a decoration like I used to have it because I am still working on my room. By the way, I did open up that Cricut machine finally. I was going to give it to someone. They didn't want it, or they thought they probably weren't going to use it so much. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to open it up, figure it out, and see how it works. And I kind of liked it. So I think I'm going to do something with that in white and put it in my background, maybe some little flowers, maybe my name. I don't know. Give me some suggestions if you'd like. All right, so today I am going to be making a spring bird cage, and I want to do this like from scratch. I'm not going to be using an actual bird cage. I'm going to create it. So it's going to be super easy, and I want to show you how I did it. So if you're interested, keep watching and let's get to crafting. To get started, I'm going to be using a terracotta vase. Of course, you can use whatever little vase you want to use. I'm going to be making a small centerpiece, so I chose this nice little square one. This I got from Hobby Lobby. It was only a couple of bucks. I thought it was a pretty good deal. And of course I want to get some styrofoam in there. And then I've got this floral wire. This is a 22 gauge and it's got 17 pieces. These are 18 inches long, so you want to look for something like that. Also, this wire that I'm using it's like wrapped in a little thread. You can choose to use that or just use a plain wire. That is up to you. I thought this would look a little bit better, so that's why I picked that. Alright, so for styrofoam, I've got these little squares. I've grabbed this package from the Dollar Tree. I think I'll need a couple of these to fit in there snugly, and this will actually push right in there nice and tight. So it is perfect. And if you don't have the size of what I'm using here, just grab a big block of styrofoam and cut it to fit. This has a little hole in the bottom, so I'm going to try to avoid that. And I'm going to add some hot glue in there. Go. Now I want to put some moss on there, so in order to do that I'm going to add one more piece because I need a little bit of height there. I don't want my moss to be way in there, but you can choose to do that if you like. Okay, just like that. Fill it up with some styrofoam, cut it to size if you need to, add extra little pieces in there to make it all nice and snug, and that'll work just fine. Alright, so I'm going to grab some of these stems. I don't know exactly how many I want to use yet, so I'm just going to grab a little bunch here. And for now, I'm going to use the whole length. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert one in each corner. Now, if it was round, just put 4 or 5 of them, you know, however many you want to start with, maybe just 4 around in your circle, go across each other like that. Okay, I am going to put a little bit of hot glue on the stem of this wire, just because I want it to hold once it's in there. And I'm going to push it pretty good ways because it is 18 inches. I probably, let's see, I'm going to put my finger right here. I inserted about 4 inches in case you're curious. So that still gives me 14 inches of height. A little glue there just to make sure that one doesn't pop out since I pulled it off. I think I said out, opt instead of out. Alright, more glue. Okay, they're all about the same height. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to insert actually on each of these shorter sides of my styrofoam. I'm going to put one on each of those. Let me think about that. No, let me do it on the longer. It doesn't matter because this is a complete square. I'm just looking at the styrofoam where I can insert it. So just however, whatever shape you're using, you just put some more in between the ones you've already placed in there. I don't know why I chose to put the glue on the styrofoam this time. You want to make sure your styrofoam goes all the way to the edges so that when you put in your wire, it's as close to the edge. Mine's a little inward. Let me redo this one and push it a little more towards the edge. So now I've got 6 of these in there. And I'm going to choose to leave one side where I don't put one in the middle. I'll go ahead and put one on this. So for me that makes 7 of these so far in this little square. You do whatever depending on what shape you're working with. And I'm just kind of grabbing them together like that and grabbing them from the tip because I want to see, well, how is that looking, right? Can you even see it? You can see it against my t-shirt right there. Okay, I like that. Do I want it tighter? What I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and fold them out and then kind of round them inward. So fold, push them out, and then round them out. So I'm pushing them over like that, bending, and then rounding them. That way it looks like they're coming out of the edge more for me. You could also choose to do that for yourself. I'm just rounding them off a little bit, curving them if you will, just like that, a little bit, so that they have more of a, you know, like a round shape like that. And I have this part open. So I kind of want that to be the opening of the cage, or maybe I'll decide that, you know what, no, I'm going to go ahead and put one on there. So I'm going to be looking at this. I'll tilt these in different positions, and then I can decide if I want more. I'm going to put one more right here, just so I can test and decide that if I want these to be closer together. You know, the openings, not so far out. And you know what? I kind of like that, so I am going to add yet another piece between, you know, I have the one in the middle here and the one in the edge. I'm going to put one in between here and one in between. I'm going to do that all the way around except this one here where I left it open. Okay, so you just decide where you want to put them and if you want them close together or if you want them set wide apart. Of course, I'm also curving them so that I can look and then see, like, yes, I do like that. Okay, I'm going to continue doing like I said, except for that part where I'm going to leave an opening. Alright, so here I have it with all the pieces of wire that I feel like I'm going to put in here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I decided to use 13. Like I said, I may decide to add some in here, but I think I want to leave like a little opening, like that's where the little bird flew in. And so before I add anything else, I'm going to go ahead and put some moss. So I'm just going to use some green moss. And I've got a big giant bag here that I'm going to pull off from. And I'm just going to go right here where I have this little opening. And I'm going to spread it a little bit. As you see, I'm not doing anything to my bird cage yet. I'm not, you know, forming it quite yet. I want to put this green moss in there. Which reminds me, I need to get some greenery pens, and I'll grab those in just a moment. I want to put this in there first because, you know, I could be, you know, pushing around the wire and misshaping it. So you want to get that in there. Maybe you want to put the moss in there first and then put your wires. I'm doing the wires first only because it is a 22 gauge, so they are kind of soft and flexible, and I want to be able to push them in. And if the moss is in the way, it'll make it a little bit harder. So for me, this is the easiest way to do it. And if you want to completely close it, then you can go ahead and close it after you've put your moss, you know, add some more wires here if you wish. All right, so I've got my greenery pens, and they're just little wires that are shaped like a U like that. And I'm just going to use that like an open bobby pin sort of kind of thing. By the way, if you can't find U pens or you feel like they're too expensive, you can go to Dollar Tree and get yourself some inexpensive pack of bobby pins. Or from whichever dollar store, Walmart even. You can use bobby pins, just pop them open a little bit. And I'm just going to use this to hold down that moss so it doesn't come popping off in case, you know, my little arrangement tilts over for any reason. Okay, so now I'm going to shape my little cage just a little bit more. I want it to come out a little bit more. It's not going to be perfect. I kind of want it to look, you know, like maybe nature formed it, and these are just some little grass bits or little, I don't know, root bits or twigs from a tree growing nearby, and they all just kind of formed a little a little nest. So I'm going to be grabbing them ever so often to see how it looks. And then I'm just going to push at the top. Oops, which one's better, like this? I'm pushing at the top here, just kind of to make them sort of even here at the top, so that I know that they're all basically almost the same length. Some of them may not be because of the position they're at. So you'll move some up and down. Move them over if you have to. I think this is good. All right. Once you have it in the shape that you like, of course, you're going to grab it from the very tip at top, and you're going to get a piece of wire, and you're going to wire that up. So I'm just going to use some floral wire. You can use the same wire that was used to make these bits, but I'm going to go use some floral wire. This is, I think it's a 24 gauge. I don't recall. Does it say? Oh, it does say it's 24 gauge. I'm just going to get a little piece and wire the top up here, and just wire it at whatever size, you know, you feel. If you want to go all the way to the very tips, you know, grab it from way up there. So now that I've got it and it's holding, I can shape it a little bit better, and then I can pull some out. Like this one, for example, needs to be pulled out a little bit more. So I didn't do it very tight. I'm just grabbing them for now. This one needs to come out a little bit more. This one a little bit more. As I'm doing this, I'm actually getting a little bit bigger. I'm going to turn this around so you can see here the shape. You can see it against my t-shirt right here. I make a better background than my background. Oh my goodness. Okay. Let's push this up a little bit. It's too long. And there we go. It doesn't have to be perfect, although I'm trying too much. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to push down on it like that to kind of help me round everything up, and then I can pull it up, and I think that's nice. All right, so I like where everything is now. Okay, so here's an option, and I thought about it. Do I want to do this or not? But I'm going to try it. I'm going to try to put some going around it like that, because we want it to look like a little cage, right? So at the very front, I'm going to take one of the ends, you know, where I left it open. And I'm just, now if you didn't leave it open, it doesn't matter. You can start at the back, wherever you want. I'm going to start at the front here. And I'm going to take one of the ends and just kind of twirl it around the wire there. There. Twirl it around, twist it around so it's catching. And then I'm going to be weaving it like over one, under one, okay? That's what I'm going to do. Over one, and then under one, and then just keep doing that. And then we'll shape it, because I feel like, okay, this is not going to be long enough. All right, so the camera stopped on me at some point, and I don't know where that was. I was putting this wire around, and I was going in and out, and you know, out of each one, weaving it through. Now the wire that I have here is 18 inches, and it wasn't long enough to go all the way around. So I went ahead and I twisted it wherever it ended, and it still had a little bit of length. I twisted it around one of these wires here, just like I did when I started. And then I got another piece, put it where that one ended, left a little end long enough so I can twist it around, leave the little ends, you know, whatever length they are. If you have some length, leave it like that, and then finish, and then twist it over here, and then just trim off the excess, which this was the excess. Okay, so now that I've done one line around, I like it. So I'm going to do one more a little bit higher up here. So I'll go ahead and get another piece, and we're going to wrap it around. And I am sweating in here. I don't have my fan on, so I don't have that noise. All right, let's go through here. And I'm going to weave it around, and weave it around, in and out, in and out. Again, if I don't have enough to go all the way around, I'll add a piece. But it looks like this one is enough. So it went all the way around. Okay, so I'm going to twist it around just once, just to make sure that it's in a good spot. I don't want to cut it yet. I don't want to trim anything. So I'm going to reshape my cage, fix this where I like it. Once I decide where I like it, this little piece here that I had left over, or use a whole new one. I'm going to use those, or you can use your floral wire. But since I have this little excess piece here, I'm going to use that. So I'm just going to cut little, maybe like 1-inch pieces. Just like that. Have them ready. They don't have to be exactly 1 inch. I'll go ahead and put away the rest of these. All right, so like I said, I'm going to go ahead and reshape it and play with it a little bit. And what I'm going to do is some of these wires that are like on the inside, because this one that I put around came on the outside, these get kind of pushed in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take one of these little pieces and just twist around, and just keep twisting it till you got all the little ends. And if you don't want to twist too much, then trim it off with your wire cutters, okay? And we'll try to hide that later. Okay, and I don't necessarily want it to be straight. I kind of like the idea of it just kind of being a little crooked. And I'll do the same thing to this bottom one. So just wherever I feel like, okay, it's pushing the other one a little too much, I'll put one of these. Of course, doing all this shapes it. That's why you got to keep, you know, kind of shaping it. Anyone right here. Okay, and now I can go ahead and decide, okay, that's all that I need. So I can finish twisting this whole length, or just cut it off. And then just make sure you fold in those little raw edges, okay, of the wire, because you don't want you to poke yourself with them. Or fold them down, whatever you need to do. I'm really liking this. All right, I'll continue on with this other one and we'll go to the next step. All right, so I've gone ahead and I finished doing all that I wanted to my little cage as far as that wire and forming and shaping it. And I really like this kind of rustic look about it, so that's where I'm going to leave it. I don't want to be too perfect, of course. I don't think I could be perfect. Okay, so the very top here where I had this wire, I'm just going to finish just putting it around, and I kind of like the little sticks coming out of the top here. So I'm going to go ahead and leave them for now, and maybe I'll end up trimming them at the end. So I'll leave that like it is. And now I'm going to go ahead and place a little bird cage, and of course I have a little bird. And I've got some little eggs that I want to put in there. So I did go to Hobby Lobby. I already had these things, by the way. And so I'm using what I already have. And I went to Hobby Lobby, and I had been purchasing items for Easter. So I got this little bag of eggs that I felt like, well, they don't have to be for Easter. Let me just cut the bag open. It'll be a lot easier. But I grabbed it because it had different size eggs, and I wanted some small ones, and I couldn't find any small ones. But this bag had these two sizes, and I like this smaller, and I like that there's some brown ones. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab. There's kind of a different tone there. You know what? I'm going to grab 3 of those. So one of each, and I'll put the rest away. Okay, so I'm going to put my little nest in there. So I'm going to decide how I want it. And I wanted something like that. So let me get a greenery pin. All right, so what I can do is take a greenery pin, and somewhere on the bottom kind of, you know, push that pin through it so that it pops out the bottom and hangs out of it like that. So then you can push that into the styrofoam to hold the little nest in there. You could always put some glue on here so that the little nest doesn't flop around like that, like it's doing for me. Or you could take some little sticks, also hot glue them into your nest, wait for that to dry, and then you could use that stick or a wooden pick to push it into the styrofoam. Whichever one you want to do. I'll go ahead and use the little stick. Why not? Let's do that. Let's put that little stick in there. I'm going to push it. It might pop up through the front, but that's okay. Yeah. And then you know what? I'm going to put some more glue in here just to hold it in place. I'm going to let that dry so that I can then add the little eggs in there, or so I can push down on it. But for now, I can go ahead and try and see what we have here. I'm going to go kind of in the back here and kind of push it at an angle. See, I want that to dry so then I can push down on it. But I'm pushing down on the stick for now. And actually, it doesn't look so bad, kind of elevated, so maybe I'm going to go ahead and leave it like that because I do have a few more little sticks here. And I can use those to kind of decorate around there. So let me do that. I'm just going to push it in and just kind of make it look like the sticks are holding up that little... Now you can just go outside and cut some little sticks or little branches from whatever's fallen from your trees, little dry sticks. Look at that, I kind of like that, like it's elevated a little bit. All right, so I actually have an extra little stick. I'll go ahead and use that as well. Why not? That in there. Okay, so I'm not going to push it any further down, but of course, like I said, if you needed to, you could use your finger to push it down. I'm just going to throw some glue in there, and I am going to put my little eggs in there. You know what? Let's do. That one doesn't want to stick down. I'm not putting it where there's glue, so let me put some glue on the actual egg. I had to put a band-aid because I poked myself with a wire. I'm telling you all to be careful, and I end up doing what I warned you about. Okay. Just glue them in however you want. You don't have to put 3 of them. You can put just 1. And yes, I realize these eggs are really big compared, to my little bird, but I don't mind. All right, so this little bird's been used several times, and he's got some parts that are kind of peeling off, so I'm just gonna add a little glue and just kind of fix that a little bit so it's not as noticeable. Got some glue on there from previous uses. I'm going to put more. I need more glue on my gun. You know what? Before I add more glue, I'm actually going to decide where I want him first. Yeah, I want him perched kind of behind the eggs on the nest. So let's put him there. Right there. And I think it's usually the male bird. I don't know, depending on the bird species. But it's usually the male bird that comes and sits on the eggs. So I think some birds, they kind of take turns. So I keep saying him, so that's okay, right? He's going to sit on the eggs, he's guarding them, while mom goes out and gets groceries. Because if you send dad to go get groceries, he's going to come back with all kinds of stuff that you didn't have on your list. All right, so now I'm going to use some sort of little vine or some greenery. And I happen to have these little wreaths. I got these from Hobby Lobby, and I believe it was a 4-pack. And what I did is I took one off and I unraveled the little wreaths because they were just kind of holding on to each other, just kind of wrapped around each other. So I have these little pieces. I may not use all of it, but let's go ahead and use one of these. And since it's on wire, it actually works pretty good. And I'm just going to wrap it up somewhere on the bottom. Now, if you didn't have a wire like this where you can bend and twist, and it's just a little string of or just a little piece of greenery, then you can insert it into the styrofoam, the stem of it. Insert it in there and have it sticking out of, and if it's long enough, you can kind of weave it through your little wires on the basket, which is kind of what I want to do. So I'm actually going to cut it right here. Just going to weave it, and if you want to use this, well, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and insert that wire into the styrofoam. And like I said, when the moss is there, it's harder to do. So I'm going to put some hot glue in there to hold that in there. Okay. And you know what? I'm going to kind of wrap it around. Oops, I'm pulling on it down here. I'm going to wrap it around right here where I tied. I don't necessarily want to hide where I tied those little bits of wire. They're okay. Okay, so now the other end on the top, I'm just going to twist it around the top here. Let's put this bottom edge a little bit better. I keep pulling it out. There we go. All right. Okay, so then you can just put greenery wherever you want. If you want it to be a centerpiece, if you don't want to cover the bird, you just want to put some greenery where you can look at it all the way around, you'll be able to see into the cage. But if you want to put this somewhere like on a shelf or a little table where, you're not really going to look at it from behind, you could add greenery that comes, tall here, and and little stems of greenery is what I meant. You could add that. Now I want to keep it kind of minimal, so I'm just going to add a little bit more. And you know what? I'm going to wrap this piece kind of halfway around the top part, halfway. Use that end to kind of put it on there, and then I'll just bring the piece down one end and wrap it around. And just wrap that little end around the wire. And then of course the other end of it, I'll bring it down. I don't have to be exact like the other piece, so I'm just going to put it wherever it seems to fit well. That looks really cute. I think I want to add more of this, so I'm going to grab one more. And you want to find something that has really small leaves, something very dainty. So if you're going to look for a, like a bush with greenery, just find something that has small little ivy leaves, and then just, cut them off the bush and use the little stems, the smaller ones on it. And just put a little bit. You don't have to put too much. We don't want to cover our cute little bird cage. We just want to enhance it. Okay, so I'm going to add another piece kind of in the back here. Just decorate it however you want. Oops, this part I need to use the scissors to cut. I'm going to start at the top again here and just kind of pinch there, and then just bring this down. Okay, so wherever you feel like you need and you want to make sure nothing moves around you, you can add a little bit of hot glue. So I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue on the top here because I didn't like wrap it around too much. Okay, so I'm going to look at it and decide if I want to put any more, and I shall be back for I think would be the last step. Alright, so I was going to be back for the last step, and I was adding some more of this little vine pieces that I had. And I decided that when I was first doing this, I wanted to close up the top part here of the front opening, because I wanted the bottom to stay open to reach in and do stuff, but I do want to close this top. So I'm going to grab another piece of wire, and I'm just going to cut it like anywhere like a 3/4 to 1/4 inch longer on each side of the length that I need. I think I went a little bit more. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and, put a piece of wire across this top part to make it feel more enclosed. And then if I want, I can add another one over here and just completely close the little cage. So let's see how that looks. Now, I'd have to add one more like that up and down. So you know what, I'm going to go ahead and do that because I'm done with the inside, I think. Actually, no, I had more steps. So you know what, I'll leave that for the end. I'm going to go ahead and finish putting this piece of vine, on here. And I'm twirling it and kind of letting it grab some of these little bits on the very top. So I think I'm going to use more of this maybe on these top bits. Okay, let me go ahead and put over to the side because what I thought was going to be my last step is not. So let's go ahead and grab some little flowers. Let's add some inside first, and maybe I'll put some on the outside. Okay, so I have this little bush with some small flowers. I got these from a floral store that's here in my town, but you can grab them from wherever you can, wherever it's available for you. I'm actually not even going to use the whole bit here. I'm just going to cut off where there's some little flowers. This is a nice long piece. And then we can hot glue these, wherever we want. This one's got a little bit of leaves on it, so it's really nice. And I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on it. Just put it in there like that. I might not even need the little stem on it. I could just trim that off. I don't want to hide too much, so I'm just putting some little flowers here and there. Let's go ahead and cut some more. I'm going to push this one into the styrofoam here. And because the little stem is not very hard, it's kind of soft, so it's kind of hard to do that. So let's see. I'm going to just take this and put glue here on the top, a little bit on the bottom there, and I'm going to put it here on this side here and glue it to the moss and then the little nest here. Oops, oops, oops. Come on, back over here. The glue dried on me before I could do that. Okay, that's more glue. And I just did that because I want to see the little stem like it's coming out of the moss down here. Otherwise, you could just cut off the little flower and just glue it down wherever. Let me look at it. I like it. I think that's enough. I don't need to put any more. I just wanted a few little flowers on the inside. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish it off like I said, and I'm going to go ahead and add one more stem here in the front of this wire, just to kind of close up the whole thing. Little piece of wire here to wrap it up here. Yeah, I'll do it at the end. And then bring it up here. I gotta round it out. And because, you know, I've already wired everything up here, I'm just gonna take the end of it and just kind of roll it around and wrap it to tie it on. Okay, I need a little piece of wire. What I was grabbing was actually from the stem, a little soft piece, so it wasn't actually the wire. Okay, so now I can go ahead and wire it down. And I don't want to lose that last piece because then I need that other piece to go across here. But I have plenty of this wire because that package had 80, what did it say? 80 stems in there. I think. Did I read that correctly? Oh, I threw the little label off. Whatever I said at the beginning of the video when I was describing the package. All right. There was plenty of them in there to work with. So I think maybe I've used, I don't know. How many have I used? I had 13 at one point, and then 14, 15, 16, maybe 18 or 20. You want to have at least 20 of these pieces of wire. Especially if you don't know really, you know, how tight you're going to want these to be next to each other, or how far apart, etc. I'm just going to use this one little piece here on the bottom. And I'm not going to go all the way to the top because I don't want to hide the bird in there. So I'm just going to have this go as far up as it can. So see what I've done so far? Very nice. Okay, so I wanted to add some more here on the top of this. And I decided that I would just, I was going to decide at the end what I was going to do. So I think I'm just going to kind of curl these a little bit. Just give them a little curl. Curve them around. Wrap it around a pencil if it's easier for you. I'm just going to curl them. Look at that. Be at different heights, at different positions. Push them down. I think that looks really cute. Curl them as much as you want, or just a little bit, just a little tiny curve. Alright, so there you go. I finished curling the top. This is looking really rustic. It's also kind of a little misshapen because I've been moving around so much. So, I just want to take a look at it. Anywhere where wires don't keep, they don't want to stay in place, grab another piece of your other wires, your floral wire, whatever you want to use. And just tie a little piece around it, wire it down, keep it from moving around. I love how rustic it looks. Okay, now we'll go to the last step. So for the last step, I've got some more little flowers. These are a little bit tinier little bits, and I'm just going to pull them off the stem. I like these because they're kind of like on a little, vines here, but it's difficult to find things, you know, exactly like what somebody else is doing, because these are just pieces that I happen to have and I don't remember where I got them. So I can't tell you exactly, but what I can do is just show you and give you an idea of what I'm using. So whatever you find, you can use, okay? All right, so because some of these are on these little lines, let me go ahead and cut off a line here. I'm gonna hot glue one in there. Now, if you don't have any that are like on a little vine, they're just on a little stem, then you're gonna do what I did with that first little flower. You're gonna pull them off and then just add a little bit of hot glue and then stick them wherever. There we go. Get that little leaf to kind of hide that little bit there in the back. Wait. Like that. So just glue it on like that. If you happen to find some that are coming off some bushes that have little wispy bits like this, then, you know, cut off little pieces and then just kind of weave it around the wires however you like. Cut this a little bit shorter. Sorry about the noise. And I realized I had my little fan on. I don't know for how many moments of my video, and you might have been hearing the sound from that. Right now, the sound you're hearing is from my AC, my house system. And I'm not about to turn that one off, so sorry about that. All right, so I'm just going to continue decorating it with these little flowers. Alright, so I'm going to take the rest of these off of here and glue them in different little spots here and there. I don't know why I didn't pull these off. Okay. Just going to glue these in different little spots and I'll be back. I'm going to put some at the very top as well. Alright everyone, so I have completed my spring birdcage centerpiece and I'm really happy with it. I really think it came out really precious. So I'm going to give myself a big old thumbs up, and I hope that you too will give me a big old thumbs up and leave a kind comment down below. Let me know what you thought of my project for this week. Do you have any ideas or suggestions of anything you'd like to see? Please also add that to your comment. I want to thank everyone for watching. So if you're liking the content of my videos, please hit the red subscribe button and then choose all so that you get notified as soon as I upload a video. Once again, thank you all for watching, and as always, enjoy.